Right now, you feel like you're moving through time at a steady, constant pace. 1 second follows another, evenly, reliably, like a metronome you can always trust. But that feeling is not measuring anything real. It's a story your brain is telling you, and it changes the story constantly, without ever telling you it's doing so. Here's the strange part. There is no clock in your brain. Not one single structure, no dedicated organ, no internal stopwatch ticking away in perfect rhythm. Unlike vision, which has a retina, or hearing, which has an inner ear, your sense of time doesn't come from one sensor. It's assembled, after the fact, from dozens of unrelated signals your brain stitches together and hands you as a finished product labeled now. You never get raw time. You only ever get the edited version. This means your sense of time can be manipulated, distorted, and even reversed, and neuroscientists have caught it happening in real experiments. Start with something simple. Look at a clock with a second hand, then quickly shift your eyes to it. For a strange half-second, the hand appears to freeze in place slightly longer than it should. This is called chronostasis, and it happens because your brain doesn't want you to notice the tiny gap caused by your eyes moving. So it fills that gap by stretching your very first impression of the new scene backward in time. You are, quite literally, seeing a moment that didn't happen the way you think it did, smoothed over so the edit is invisible. If your brain will rewrite a fraction of a second without asking permission, what else is it rewriting? Philosopher and psychologist William James, writing over a century ago, proposed something he called the specious present. The idea that what you experience as right now isn't actually a single instant at all. It's a short window, roughly a few seconds wide, that your brain packages together and presents to you as one unified moment. There is no true instantaneous now available to human consciousness. Every now you've ever felt was already a small, edited highlight reel by the time it reached your awareness. Here's where it gets stranger. That window isn't fixed. It stretches and compresses depending on what's happening to you. Neuroscientist David Eagleman ran experiments having people fall backward off a platform into a safety net, all while trying to read numbers flashing on a wristband too fast to normally perceive. During the fall, a genuinely terrifying and dangerous feeling few seconds, people didn't actually process information faster. Their brains simply laid down denser memories, more detail per second than normal. Afterward, this dense memory made the event feel like it took much longer than it really did. Time didn't slow down. Your memory of it got thicker, and thick memories feel long in hindsight. This single mechanism explains something almost everyone has felt without understanding why. Childhood summers stretched on forever. Adulthood years blur past in what feels like months. It isn't that time itself sped up. It's that childhood is packed with novelty, first experiences, unfamiliar places, new information your brain has to encode in rich detail. Adulthood, full of repetition and routine, gives your brain far less new material to lay down. Less density in memory becomes less perceived duration in hindsight. You're not imagining that time speeds up as you age. Your brain is simply recording less of it. Psychologist Robert Levine spent years studying how different cultures around the world experience the pace of daily life, famously comparing walking speed, clock accuracy, and postal efficiency across dozens of countries. He found measurable, consistent differences in how quickly life moves depending on culture, climate, and economic pace. Not because clocks ran differently, but because the lived experience of urgency itself was culturally shaped. Time, even at the level of how fast you walk down a street without thinking about it, turns out to be something absorbed from your environment, not a fixed, universal setting installed at birth. So if time isn't a steady, objective flow, and if your brain builds now out of separate ingredients assembled after the fact, what exactly are you experiencing when you feel time passing? Some researchers describe subjective time as something closer to attention than perception. When your attention is fully absorbed, densely engaged in something new or effortful, your brain logs more, and in hindsight that stretch of life feels expansive. When your attention is thin repetitive, running on autopilot through a familiar routine, your brain logs less, and in hindsight, the same stretch of life collapses down to almost nothing. You don't actually experience clock time directly. You experience a proxy built out of how much your brain deemed each moment worth remembering. This creates an unsettling asymmetry.